Oh, hey, what's up guys? Dustin here, Adam Off-Road. In today's video, we're gonna be pulling off the front wheels. I'm gonna show you the new axle we got for the budget build Jeep Cherokee. Let's get to work. So a lot of cool things happened since the last episode. Getting the RTT and everything installed up on the roof is the Jeep Passed Smog. Here you can see the sniffer in the tailpipe, and that's basically testing for NOx, unburnt fuels, burnt fuels, and things like that that's going into the air we breathe. The test requires the vehicle be driven around 15 miles an hour and 25 miles an hour for a particular amount of time. If the sniffer detects any emissions over the limit, it's an automatic fail. The technician also covers multiple vehicle inspections, like checking the gas cap and pressurizing the fuel tank, making sure there's no emissions leaking there. And despite being a 35-year-old Jeep catching on fire and hasn't been ran in many years, it passed smog. And yeah, it's just really good news. Now we can proceed on to tagging it and registering it, which is all really good news. And because it passed smog and the engine's running really well, went and bought a front axle for it. It's used, but it matches the 355 gears. I'll show you that here in a minute. And I think this thing is done. But that leads us to our next sponsor of this video, which is going to be Viva, the 3-in-1 jack. Viva is a company very similar to Harbor Freight. They specialize in low cost, high quality tools. The really cool thing about this Viva jack is that it comes with a travel case. In the front, you can set this on the side of the road. It's got the triangle, some Velcro, you can stick stuff to it. I really like how it has the steel hinges for the case. And then when you open it up, here's your roadside 3-in-1 kit. So you have the electric hydraulic jack, a pump, and then you also have a light in the front and the light on the top, which will assist where the jack needs to be placed. There's some other cool features I thought that were pretty well thought out. Was this steel pad underneath. That will definitely come in handy for a good solid surface. Compared to the 6-ton, you have a little bit more surface area. This is going to be a 5-ton jack and actually extends higher than the 6-ton, which I thought was pretty cool. This is a really nice feature, and I'll be holding on to this, switching it between my recovery kit and in the trailer and in the Jeeps. So Viva is one of those tool manufacturers that has a wide variety of interesting products, like one of these big blow-up carports where you can ride your vehicle in and paint vehicles. Down to hot dog machines, camping gear, and just a wide variety of interesting products. I'll leave the links in the description box below right here for the 5-ton jack. And if you'd like to take 5% off on your next purchase at viva.com, go ahead and take promo code VVSells5, and we'll get back to the video. All right, so today is a new day, and I've got my son helping me remove the front axle on this Cherokee. We're gonna be taking off the calipers, get those set up and hung up out of the way, and then it's just basically everything's coming out of here. So he's removing the 2 bolts that attach the caliper to the bracket, and then when he's done, I'll remove the other side. We're going to be disconnecting the sway bar links here, and basically everything's going to remain on the axle. The Y-link, the track bar, both the upper and lower control arms. We're not going to be using pretty much anything on this axle. We're not going to be reusing the shocks. Now, I've been going around all the hardware for the front and rear axle, and I've been spraying it with WD-40 and some PB Blaster. The last 2 weeks, I've just been letting that stuff soak in really good, and it's definitely paid off here. This is the other nut right here on top of that shock. I think these are the original shocks. I don't know, but that's the other nut. Location. Go ahead and remove these bushings. Pretty dried out. Pretty bad. There's a little trick where you can kind of compress the brake caliper. Loosen that up, and then we'll go ahead and just pull this off. I'm just going to hang it up right here for now. Just like that. And it should hold up until we can get the whole axle removed. Oh my gosh, that's all it took. All right, so my son and I, we've got pretty much everything done. We're just gonna pull out the coils on each side. We should be able to drop this thing out and move it out. I've got a skate over here, he's got a skate over there. We're gonna just basically support them underneath the hubs and then push this thing out. So that's what we're gonna do right now. Let's get to it. Okay, now we're going that way. All right, so there's gonna be a lot of cleaning up now that we got the axle out of here. We're gonna be still taking off parts like this bump stop here, this spring cushion up here on the axle. There's this piece I just took off. We don't need it. I think this is for an automatic transmission. The axle disconnect, we're gonna be deleting that. So these 3 hoses that go all the way up to the top to the disconnect switch for the 4x4 indicator, all that stuff all the way back to the transfer case and up here, that's all gonna be taken out. We're gonna be taking that out throughout the process of getting this thing lifted. So this is the other end of the hoses. I've got them pulled up to the top. I'm just gonna figure out where they're landing and then just cap them off. That's all we'll have to do, just 3 vacuum lines for that axle disconnect. So these bump stops here come off a little bit different than a TJ. They just thread off like this. You have to grab a pipe wrench and then take them off. Good, got it off. So that's how you take those off. And then you could take off the spring bushing isolator type thing. These are worn out too. We're gonna go ahead and replace that as well. Good, pull the bolt out. Well, there goes that bracket. And that's the track bar bracket. 2 bolts and 2 nuts. It's out. The axle is out from underneath the Jeep, and we are ready to accept the new axle, the new lift, at least on the front end. We got all the components out, and now it's just putting everything back together in the front. We're gonna flip you around and show you the new axle that we got. It's got the 355 gears to match the axle in the rear. I think that's going to be great, and it's basically going to be a budget style axle. It's a high pinion Dana 30. Let me flip you around and we'll talk to you about it right now. All right, so this is the Dana 30 high pinion axle that originally came in the Cherokee. It is a center axle disconnect, which we will be doing a delete on this and possibly upgrading the whole left side of the axle to just a straight axle, beef it up with some TJ U-joints, probably something we'll do later on. So like I said earlier in the video, this is going to be a budget build. We can always upgrade and everything later, and we'll probably just end up rebuilding these axles, replacing hubs, doing brakes and things like that. I have upper control arm bushings I plan on doing. Everything looks good. I've already pulled the cover, all the gears, carrier, pinion, everything looks really good there. This knuckle here is seized, but the hub does rotate. I believe there's a U-joint seized here, so we'll have to pull that axle and rebuild it. I really don't want to plan on spending a lot of money on this axle, getting it, ready to go underneath the Jeep. I think maybe we can spend probably about $100 on materials just to get it going. That's bushings and oil, new gaskets, a couple U-joints, maybe some brake components, and we will definitely talk more about this in another video when I start cleaning it up. So this is what we're going to be working on in the next couple of videos. Did want to kind of share with you a breakdown of kind of how much we've spent on the Jeep so far from day one until now, till this point. And then I will talk to you about that, what I'm spending on the lift after. So I'll just kind of get you up to date on all the costs and where I'm at as far as the budget build. and we'll just go ahead and talk a little bit about that before we conclude this video. So because this build is transitioning into a budget build, I thought I'd be more transparent and share with you some of the costs up to today's date in the build, especially in today's economy. So in video part 1, we talked about how I got the XJ from a friend for $100. I had to tow it. That was about another $100. And then there were some hidden registration fees, which I didn't know about. And that cost about $550 just to get it up to date. Now, if you've watched video part 1, Reviving Project 87 Jeep XJ, that video was mainly getting the Jeep to start up. This list would look familiar to you. A couple items were the fuel pump, battery, and things like that. This is basically a list of things that we used just to get the Jeep running. And in video part 2, the Jeep was running pretty good, but it just was not roadworthy yet. So we checked out the brakes and we flushed out the system. We also checked the clutch system, got that flushed out as well. Added some good tires and wheels. That way we can drive it. And then we ended up finding out that the extension housing on the tail end of the transfer case was broken. It was leaking a lot of fluid, so we had to go buy an extension housing and repair that. After I was down there, I had happened to notice that the gears on the front and rear axles were different. So in the end of the video, I mentioned that we'll be needing either a front or a rear axle, which in this video, we ended up finding a front axle. And lastly, at the end of filming part 2, the starter motor had failed on the Jeep, so I had a hidden cost of about $125. And in video 3, I modified a ladder rack to fit a rooftop tent on the top. The ladder rack was about $110 on Amazon, and then the Inspired Overland rooftop tent cost around $999 on sale. Ferdinand over there in Inspired Overland, he sometimes offers really good deals on tents. They usually go for around $1,500 shipped. This was a promotion. It was about $999 free shipping. So definitely keep an eye on his Instagram handle, his website for future deals. So now we're in part 4 of this video. We talked about smog that cost about $80. And then I also had to purchase a front axle. We found the axle and I left some question marks there because there are going to be some added costs. We'll talk about that more in about part 5. But for the axle, I paid about $150. There was some fuel costs to go get the axle. So it was about $100 and about $50 in gas. So up to date, that leaves us at $2,667. Now, just keep in mind about $1,100 is going to be optional if you didn't want to buy the tent or the roof rack. So just keep that in mind. And that's going to be the update on the total cost up to now for the 87 XJ budget build. So because Viva sponsored this video by sending us this jack, I'm going to go out and personally purchase a second one myself, and I want to give one of you guys one of these jacks. I'll be testing this thing for about a month, and then sometime in the middle of next month, I'll be giving one away. We'll do a raffle or something like I've done in the past for giveaways, but I think the jack is pretty awesome, and if you would like to enter, go ahead and comment the Jeep model that you own, or if you don't even own a Jeep, name the favorite fruit that you like in the comments box below. So without further ado, we're going to end the video here. I hope you guys liked it and enjoyed it. If you do, check out some of the other videos that may be helpful to you, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace out.